Ladies and gentlemen, seekers of truth, love, and spiritual connection, today I invite you to journey with me into one of the most mystical and divine processes in life, the way God introduces you to your soulmate. Often without you even realizing it, many people expect fireworks, lightning bolts, or a dramatic love at first sight moment, but in reality, God works in silent, subtle, and deeply spiritual ways. The universe, like a wise monk in silent meditation, rarely shouts, it whispers. Much like Master Shi Heng Yi teaches in his lessons on inner awareness and balance, finding your soulmate is less about chasing and more about aligning, less about asking, where are they? And more about asking, am I ready? One of the most divine and often overlooked ways God introduces you to your soulmate is through the gift of inner peace. When you meet this person, there isn't necessarily a surge of adrenaline or the dramatic intensity that movies often portray. Instead, there's a silent calm that settles over you. It feels like the emotional equivalent of coming home after a long journey. Without even realizing you were on a journey in the first place, you may find yourself sitting with them in total silence. And it doesn't feel awkward. The silence feels full, safe, and meaningful. It's as though their energy blends effortlessly with yours, creating a field of emotional safety around you. Your nervous system relaxes. Your heart rate steadies. Your mind stops racing with doubts, fears, and overthinking. In the presence of your soulmate, you no longer feel the need to impress, wear a mask, or filter your thoughts. You don't second guess your words. You don't feel the anxiety of being misunderstood or judged. There's an unspoken understanding between your souls, like an ancient familiarity that surpasses logic or explanation. This peace is often subtle at first. You might not even realize how profound it is until you leave their presence. Suddenly, when they're gone, you notice how loud and restless the world feels again. You notice how rare that kind of emotional stillness is, and how much you crave being around them again, not because of dependency, but because their energy feels like spiritual oxygen. Shi Heng Yi often speaks about the power of stillness and presence. In the same way that mindful breathing brings us back to center, the presence of your soulmate brings you back to your truest self. They help you reconnect with parts of you that got lost in the chaos of life. This inner peace is not something that can be faked, forced, or fabricated. It's God's gentle way of telling you, this connection is meant for you. It's as if the universe aligns your energies on a frequency where both your souls feel safe to rest, grow, and love, without needing words, explanations, or conditions. While the world outside may remain noisy and unpredictable when you're with them, your heart knows peace. Another profound way God introduces you to your soulmate, without you even realizing it, is through repeated divine timing and synchronicities. You may start noticing that this person keeps appearing in your life in ways that feel too precise to be random. It's as if the universe is orchestrating small, perfectly timed moments just to bring your paths together again and again. For example, you could run into them at a coffee shop you rarely visit, then bump into them again at a completely unrelated event. Maybe you both end up joining the same online group, attending the same seminar, or even reaching for the same book at a bookstore. You might start seeing their name in unexpected places or find that they pop into your mind moments before they text or call you. These synchronicities aren't limited to physical meetings. Often, God uses signs in the environment around you to get your attention. You may notice repeating numbers like 11, 11, 2, 122, or 777 around the times you think of them. You may hear songs on the radio that describe your exact situation or feelings about this person. Some people even report dreaming about their soulmate before consciously realizing their emotional connection. Shi Heng Yi often reminds us that there is no such thing as coincidence in a spiritually connected life. Every event, every meeting, every so-called random occurrence happens within the flow of universal energy. Synchronicity is the language God uses when He wants you to pay attention, when He wants to gently nudge your spirit and say, "Look closely, this person matters." Sometimes these patterns will be subtle at first. You may dismiss them as chance, but as they continue, the frequency and intensity grow. That's when you start realizing that this is no ordinary series of events. It might feel like no matter how much life tries to pull you apart, different schedules, cities, or life circumstances, you're continually drawn back together. Life reroutes both of you toward the same spaces, the same circles, and the same experiences over and over again. These divine alignments aren't there to confuse you. They're spiritual breadcrumbs leading you to recognize the significance of this connection. God is weaving your paths together through timing, chance encounters, repeated symbols, and meaningful coincidences, until both your hearts awaken to the truth that was always there. This kind of divine timing feels effortless, unforced, and incredibly natural. It's as though the universe, God, and all unseen spiritual forces are working behind the scenes to make sure you notice each other, even when your conscious mind is distracted or skeptical. Through these repeated synchronicities, God is softly preparing both your souls for the realization that what you share isn't ordinary. It's a part of a divine plan, written long before you both arrived at this point in life. One of the most undeniable signs that God is introducing you to your soul mate, often without you realizing it at first, is the nature of your conversations. With most people, small talk stays small. Discussions remain surface level, limited to everyday topics like the weather, daily routines, work complaints, or casual gossip. But with this person, the conversations take on an entirely different energy. They stir something deep within your soul. It may start innocently, perhaps with a simple exchange about life goals, or a mutual interest in books, music, or philosophy. But somehow, without planning it, the conversation gradually shifts into unexplored emotional and spiritual territory. You find yourself opening up about things you rarely talk about with anyone else. You may suddenly start discussing childhood memories, past heartbreaks, life regrets, dreams for the future, your faith, your fears, and your vision of love. Even your vulnerabilities come to the surface, things you've kept hidden from others for years. But strangely, it doesn't feel scary or uncomfortable. There's an invisible force guiding the flow of the dialogue, making both of you feel safe enough to be completely honest and raw. Time seems to disappear. Hours can pass like minutes, and you don't even notice how long you've been talking. You could find yourselves still deep in conversation at 2 a.m., lost in the connection. Shi Heng Yi often speaks about authentic presence and conscious awareness. In his teachings, he explains how real connection happens when both people are fully present, without masks or filtered responses. This is exactly what happens with your soulmate. With them, you aren't afraid to ask the deeper questions. What's your purpose in life? What are you most afraid of? How do you heal from past pain? What does love mean to you? Do you believe in destiny, in soul connections, in divine timing? Sometimes your soulmate will ask you a question so powerful that it lingers in your mind for days afterward. Their words touch parts of your heart that have long been silent or asleep. You might leave the conversation feeling emotionally stirred, reflective, and spiritually awakened, and the beauty of it is these conversations aren't forced. You don't need to think of clever topics or rehearse what to say next. The dialogue flows with an ease that feels guided by something bigger than both of you. There's laughter, vulnerability, even moments of silence, that feel just as meaningful as the words exchanged. Every conversation feels like a small piece of a much larger puzzle falling into place, aligning your energies and weaving your connection tighter. God uses this soul-level communication as one of his most effective tools to help you recognize your soulmate, not through physical attraction alone, but through mental, emotional, and spiritual resonance. You walk away from these conversations not just knowing more about them, but also discovering new truths about yourself. It feels as though they hold a mirror to your soul, reflecting both your light and your shadows in a way that invites growth, healing, and self-acceptance. One of the most spiritually challenging, but also most transformative ways God introduces you to your soulmate is by sending someone who reflects both your beauty and your brokenness. Unlike the romanticized notion that soulmates only bring happiness, ease, and comfort, the reality is often quite the opposite, at least in the beginning. Your soulmate will mirror aspects of yourself that you've been avoiding, denying, or burying deep within. Shi Heng Yi often speaks about the necessity of self-awareness and conscious healing on the spiritual path. In his teachings, he reminds us that true growth often comes not through comfort, but through discomfort. The soulmate God sends you will play a key role in this awakening process. This person will unknowingly trigger your unresolved wounds. Their words, actions, or even their silence may stir emotions you didn't know were still alive within you. Feelings of abandonment, rejection, fear of not being good enough, fear of being vulnerable, trust issues, these may all come to the surface once you start interacting with your soulmate. It won't be because they are intentionally hurting you. It's because their presence naturally brings your suppressed emotional baggage to light. For example, they may unintentionally do something that reminds you of past pain. They might forget to call, and it stirs feelings of neglect from your childhood. They might unintentionally ignore your emotional needs one day, and it triggers your fear of emotional abandonment. They may challenge your limiting beliefs about love, causing internal resistance and fear. All these emotional responses aren't happening by accident. They're being orchestrated by God to push you toward healing. This process can feel confusing. One part of you feels an intense pull toward this person, a soul recognition that feels ancient and real. But another part of you feels triggered, scared, and even tempted to run away. Yet no matter how much you want to create distance, life keeps bringing you back to face these unresolved feelings again and again. And that's because this person's role in your life isn't just about love and companionship. It's about spiritual growth. The purpose behind this divine mirroring is to make you aware of what still needs healing inside you. God uses your soulmate as a living, breathing mirror. They reflect your strengths, your light, your beauty, but they also reflect your shadows, your emotional wounds, and your insecurities. Through this mirror, you get the chance to evolve into a better, stronger, more self-aware version of yourself. Your soulmate doesn't complete you. They awaken you. They hold space for you to confront your fears, heal old wounds, and grow in ways you couldn't on your own. This mirroring isn't always easy. It takes emotional maturity and spiritual discipline to recognize that the discomfort you're feeling isn't caused by them, but rather triggered through them for your highest good. Shi Heng Yi teaches that pain is often the doorway to transformation. Similarly, the emotional turbulence stirred by your soulmate is not a sign of incompatibility. It's a divine invitation for healing and inner work. In time, as you both continue to grow, this phase of triggering and healing becomes the foundation for a deeper, more authentic love, one rooted not in fantasy, but in spiritual truth, mutual growth, and emotional maturity. One of the most mysterious and powerful ways God introduces you to your Soulmate is through a deep, unexplainable inner knowing, an intuitive sense that this person is meant to play a significant role in your life. This knowing doesn't come from logical reasoning, external validation, or concrete evidence. It's not something you can prove to yourself or explain to others with clear facts. Instead, it's something you feel deep in your soul, as if every fiber of your being recognizes them before your mind even catches up. From the very first interaction, or sometimes even before officially meeting them, you might sense a strange familiarity. You may find yourself thinking, "I know this person from somewhere," even though you've never crossed paths before. There's a pull, an undeniable magnetic energy that draws you toward them without any apparent reason. Shi Heng Yi often emphasizes the importance of intuition and listening to the quiet wisdom within. According to his teachings, our inner awareness often detects truth long before our conscious mind does. This is especially true when it comes to recognizing your soulmate. With this person, you might experience moments where your heart reacts before your head does. You may feel deeply connected to them after only one or two conversations. There's a subtle but constant voice inside you saying, "Pay attention to this person." Sometimes this intuitive knowing feels like peace. Other times, it feels like urgency, as if you're being spiritually nudged not to overlook this connection, even when circumstances aren't ideal, or when you logically try to dismiss the feelings as unrealistic. The knowing persists. You may dream about them, sense their emotions even from a distance, or suddenly think of them moments before receiving a text or call. Their happiness affects you. Their sadness lingers in your heart. Even if you try to date other people or distract yourself, you find that your thoughts inevitably return to this person. It's not obsession, it's resonance. Your soul recognizes something it's been waiting for. Sometimes people describe this as déjà vu. Others describe it as a gut feeling that grows stronger over time. You might feel like you've known them in a past life, or that you were destined to meet them at this specific moment in your journey. This intuitive knowing is God's subtle way of guiding your attention. He plants this recognition deep within you so that even when doubts creep in, even when external circumstances look complicated, even when fear makes you question your feelings, something inside you still whispers, "This person matters, this connection is sacred." Shi Heng Yi reminds us that silence and inner stillness often reveal the answers we seek. In quiet moments, whether during meditation, prayer, or reflection, you'll notice that your heart softens whenever you think of this person. Your energy lifts, your intuition sharpens, and your soul leans toward them as if drawn by an invisible thread. You might not have all the answers. You may not know the timeline, the outcome, or the full reason why this connection feels so different. But deep within, you just know. And that knowing is God's way of preparing your heart for what's to come. Another powerful and often overlooked way God introduces you to your soulmate is by aligning your paths during a period of shared spiritual awakening or significant life transition. This isn't just coincidence, it's divine timing. When you're both going through deep inner change, whether it's emotional healing, a shift in personal beliefs, career transformation, or spiritual enlightenment, God often orchestrates the meeting of soulmates at that very moment. Why? Because you're both energetically and emotionally becoming the version of yourselves that are ready to meet and truly recognize each other. Shi Heng Yi often teaches that change is the soil in which spiritual growth blooms. When life shakes you, when old structures collapse, and when your ego starts dissolving, that's when your soul becomes more receptive and sensitive to divine connections. During a spiritual awakening, you begin to see life differently. Things that once mattered start to fade in importance. Old attachments dissolve. Material concerns become secondary. You become more present, more conscious, more aware of subtle energies and divine signs. Your soulmate will often appear during this sacred but turbulent time, because both of you are shedding old versions of yourselves. This could mean leaving behind toxic relationships, quitting unfulfilling jobs, moving to a new city, starting a new spiritual practice, or simply questioning life on a deeper level for the first time. You might meet them at a meditation retreat, a spiritual workshop, a community service event, or even in an online forum focused on healing and growth. Your conversations with them will reflect this shared inner work. You'll find that you both talk about subjects like mindfulness, healing, purpose, surrender, divine timing, and emotional growth, topics you wouldn't have deeply understood a few years earlier. This shared phase of transition creates a sacred bond between you two. You'll feel like you're both walking through a tunnel of transformation side by side, helping, inspiring, and holding space for each other, even if unintentionally at first. Sometimes, both of you might still be in the process of healing from past relationships or recovering from loss. Other times, you may both feel like you're starting over in life. This mirrored timing isn't accidental. It's God's divine design to bring two evolving souls together when they're finally ready to recognize, respect, and nurture the love that awaits. The beauty of meeting during this phase is that both of you are more aligned with your higher selves. You've both begun to let go of ego-driven desires. You're both more open to vulnerability, compassion, forgiveness, and authentic communication. Shi Heng Yi often speaks about readiness, not just external readiness, but internal preparedness of the soul. This alignment during life transitions is part of that preparation. By meeting during a spiritual awakening or life shift, God ensures that both of you don't just meet, but meet with eyes wide open, hearts softened, and spirits prepared for something deeper than superficial attraction. This connection, born out of mutual transformation, often has a stronger foundation. It's built on shared understanding, empathy, and the awareness that both of you have been spiritually guided to this moment. So as you walk through this beautiful yet often unpredictable journey of life, remember this: God doesn't always introduce your soulmate with fireworks or dramatic declarations. Sometimes it happens quietly, through moments of peace, divine timing, healing conversations, intuitive whispers, emotional triggers, shared awakenings, and life transitions that shift you into a new version of yourself. Every coincidence, every challenge, every unexpected encounter is part of a larger spiritual plan designed specifically for you. The delays you feel, the loneliness you sometimes experience, the people who left, the lessons you learned, they were all preparing your heart for this sacred connection. Your soulmate is not just another person walking through life. They are a mirror for your soul, a partner in growth, a spiritual companion sent to walk beside you, not just in the good times, but through healing, awakening, and becoming. So don't chase, don't force, don't fear. Instead, trust, surrender to the divine flow. Let God write your love story in His perfect timing. And when the moment comes, when your eyes finally meet and your hearts recognize each other, you'll realize it was worth every single waiting moment. Because what God ordains, no distance, no doubt, and no circumstance can stop. Thank you, and may love in its purest and most divine form find its way to you when you're truly ready.